Back here on episode 72 of Commanders in the Chat. Rob, what is going on, sir?
Hey, Charles Leno edition. Um,
Yes, we here.
I'm excited to get into this matchup that I don't know how I feel about it at the moment. Hopefully, I feel better at the end of the show, but it's one of those games, man.
It's funny. I'm telling you, I don't it's so weird to think, even though like we're probably about 3,000 miles apart, but we always, for some odd reason, have that same feeling. This gives me like Chicago Bears Thursday night football, like that type of feel where there's an expectation in this game, and it's funny that we're gonna talk about it as when the night at one of our final topics of the night, where I think we left the whole Ron Rivera thing at the end, because what we think could potentially happen in this game, will that happen? Because this is another one where you look at a team that's desperate,
Yep.
like the Chicago Bears were when they came here in week 6. And it's eerily. Well, that was what, week 5 or whatever. It don't matter. It's we lost, so it don't even matter what week it was. But it's eerily familiar, and even in our week 7 matchup against the team, it's yeah. So we definitely talk about, preview our matchup with our NFC East foe, the New York Giants. Yeah, this is the Charles Leno edition. I titled this as a must win. I know I talked about last week was a must win. I'm at a point where, at this point, regardless of what happens, every week you're gonna have to win. This point, you're playing catch up. You are getting yourself further and further out of the playoff conversation. You're gonna have an aerospace engineer leading his football team that might be going to Detroit in the third week of January. And it is what it is. But we'll talk about that. So I definitely want to get your thoughts on this matchup. When we went to Seattle, didn't fell a little bit short. What was your thoughts on our loss to the Seattle Seahawks? What you got?
Being a Washington Commanders fan is basically the Sunday equivalent to being a USC Trojans fan because our offense looks good. Offense is marching. One thing that they said during the game, that Sam Howell talked about, is that his biggest adjustment he's had to make from college to the NFL is, in college, if you're a good offense, you're kind of expected to march down and score 7 points every drive. And if you don't, it's kind of a letdown, a failed drive. In the NFL, you're not going to hit those every single drive. Even Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen's at the top of their game, one or two drives were ending in field goals. But again, offense seems so competent. It's clicking. When they made the change at left guard and center, offensive line has been playing great. Eric Bieniemy is calling great play calls to put Sam in a good position to get the ball out quick, to be able to make good reads, the ball out quick, like I said, and again march down the field. But our defense is horrendous, absolutely trash. Coaching, from a head coaching standpoint, from a clock management, and just a game situational standpoint, is straight trash. Um, for the second time in a month, in less than a month, you have an opportunity to go for two to win the game, to at least take a lead in the game late. You don't do it. You play for the tie. To me, you're playing scared at this point. Like, your defense isn't that good. And it's the offense looks great. Sam Howell leading the league in passing yards right now. Who would have thought it going into the season? If you would have told me going into week 11 that Sam Howell would lead the league, even be top 5, top 2. He's only leading right now because the Dolphins had a bye week, so Tua didn't throw any yards last week. As of right now, Sam Howell, through 10 full games, is the leader in passing yards. but the defense is just so inept. They cannot do anything right, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. This is another game where, like I said, all the offense was clicking on all cylinders. And one of the keys, I know I talked about it, was the equal opportunity offense, where he got so many guys involved. And you look at even the running backs, B Rob, I think we had like 100 yards receiving. AG, he did his thing. I think he scored in that game as well. But you look at just the equal opportunity where guys had opportunities. B Rob scored, Diami scored. So you had the opportunity where the offense were great, but then like this, the defense once again let us down, especially in that final drive. You look at, the St. Juice penalty. I think that kind of demoralized us in a sense, and just falling short. And I think one of those where at the shit, and it's crazy even in that DK play where it's almost like we literally, if we could have just gave him a few more yards, we could this game could have been ours in the sense
Yeah.
where, and I was just like, all right, keep running, because I'm like, the clock kept on ticking, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I was like, because he definitely had that wherewithal, like, okay, I'm in range, just get down. He wanted more, and I'm
Right.
like, just keep going. But it's one where, and that's why I like it when these type of when we these type of games, it's almost like that's why I always question like what is best. Lose a game like this when you know you had a great opportunity to win this football game, or to get beat by 20 plus points. Both is the same feeling. Both same feeling of like despair. But it's levels to it. This is one where I'm like, this can haunt this football team. And I know, I was saying how last week was a must-win game, just in the sense of, hey, you're playing a playoff caliber team. This is going to help you down the road potentially, especially we got a team like a Seattle, which it may be a situation where they may not be, they're still in the wild card portion of it, and we might have the may have maybe a logjam in the standings between us and Seattle, but obviously look at it now, doubt it very seriously at this point. But just a very disheartening loss. This is one of those where it's just like, it's one of those like, we really want to see. I want to see the result of this football team, and now in this case, the next 72 hours when we play against the Giants at home. So it's going to definitely be one of those where it's going to be, we're going to see it. We won't see a result of this football team, but hopefully.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about this overall. We kind of talked about it, but just more so of just because it's one of those things where it's funny how when you look at this season, you think to yourself, damn, we really have played 10 games already, and we 3 weeks away from a bye week. I'm like, dude, this bye week cannot come anytime sooner. I'm like, I am tired of like being on pins and needles every Sunday for the last 10 weeks. I need a break from it. I'm like,
Yeah.
normally on bye weeks, I would like, okay, I watch Red Zone. I may not even watch any football that week. I'm to a point where it's just like, I'm just frustrated. So, man, at 4-6, what are your thoughts on our Commanders at this point? What you got?
Ultimately disappointing. I think anybody who looked at this roster and saw the addition of Eric Bieniemy thought that we'd be probably just a little bit better, maybe just 500 at this point. But although disappointing, still not very surprised by this defense. Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, once again for the fourth straight year, did not address the biggest glaring problem we have on defense is the linebacking core. To get two former NFL linebackers who have failed miserably at getting that position. You see what other teams with linebackers are able to do. You look at a team like the 49ers with Fred Warner, arguably the best linebacker in the game right now. What they're able to do along with that front four, the just added Chase Young, who in his first game with San Francisco basically had a watch party at the quarterback on Trevor Lawrence with his former teammate at Ohio State, Joey Bosa, or Nick Bosa, rather. Ultimately, it's a disappointing season. I'm past the phase of wanting this team to lose to get Ron Rivera fired because I know that's not going to happen. I am confident that Eric Bieniemy will be the head coach of this team at the end of the season, um, and I'm okay with that. I think as long as he can go get whatever offensive coordinator he wants, it's going to be his system anyways. But he's shown that he can turn a great passer into, I don't want to say just anybody, but going from Patrick Mahomes to Sam Howell. Sam Howell's now leading the league in passing yards. But what he needs to do is go and get that solid defensive coordinator. I know I'm getting sidetracked. Ultimately, again, 4-6 season. It's not what we wanted. But I like where this team is headed 2024 and beyond. I think this season is kind of a wash. At this point, you can try to make a run for the playoffs. I don't think we're really going to do any damage if we are able to get in. If we play a top offensive team in the league, this defense isn't going to be able to stop much, if anything. So you can go and try to get that 7th wild card spot, go to San Francisco or go to Philly and try to go through that and see what happens. But this season for me is a wash. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the games. And really from here on out, it's more of just an analysis of Sam Howell, this offensive line, and start looking at the draft and free agency on how to improve this defense.
Yeah, and this, like you said, it's funny that when you say as far as predictions, yeah, because I had this team is at least been the 5th best team in the NFC, and I had them going to New Orleans and beating the Saints to win our first playoff games in 2006. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen at this point. I think the 5th seed is pretty much going to be all but Dallas or Philly, whoever gets whoever second place in NFC East. Yeah, this is a very disappointing team. I mean, when you look at 4-6, and I think, because us following the team, we know that this is a good football team. On paper, this is a great football team, but everything coming together, like we talked about the defense, where you look at the biggest issue where we have some good guys on this offense, but on this defense, but they're just we're not getting the pressure at times, especially from the past. Our past defense have suffered tremendously, especially in these 3 years that we've closely followed this team. It's like it has got progressively worse. But even in those spurts, those at least the 2 seasons, there have been some semblance of, hey, they play very well for like a few weeks. We haven't seen that quite yet. Obviously, you look at some of the run that we had last year, before we went to the bye week, and then you look at our November run, essentially at our bye week in 2021, where the defense somewhat improved. But you really haven't seen this defense improve. I mean, you look at, sometimes from a statistical standpoint, sometimes, hey, we're only bad this week compared to previous weeks. But overall, this defense has been horrible. And like you said, and then it's really encouraging the offense. You like you said, this could be a situation where if Eric Bieniemy isn't here, but if he doesn't get a head coaching job, I'm gonna be honestly real with you. He gonna have to file a lawsuit because there's no way he got a guy like Sam Howell. And I love Sam Howell. Like you said, I was high on him, from the jump. But if you would have told me he led the league in passing yards, I would have thought you're crazy. Mm-hmm. So to have a guy that's essentially in his rookie year, essentially, I mean, this is pretty much Sunday would be his 12th start of his NFL career, and he's already leading the league in passing. I know, like you said, he's played probably the most games out of the quarterback, but still, even if he had a bad week, he would still be in the top 5 in this list. So to me, that would be the offense. And that's crazy how we all said, all we needed was a quarterback. We have the quarterback now, but the defense, and it's the most frustrating thing about it, because we kept on saying, and I remember when we would talk about this offense like, okay, dude, like y'all got to get to a point where, hey, this field position was key. Can you start off drives? We were looking at, at the time, like Dax Mill. We like, can he get some more yards from the punt so he can kind of get us in the 30-40 range so we can at least get to a point where maybe we can kick a field goal on a drive and potentially score. We're looking at like our special teams guys making the most impact. But now we got a guy in Sam Howell that's effective. And like I said, the offense, and that's the beautiful thing about the Eric Bieniemy offense, because it's so complex. And it's crazy to think that Dave, he's picked up on it so quickly. And to me, like you said, if he's not a head coach in the NFL next year, he need to go to court.
Yeah,
because he's already has shown, like, he's shown that he's capable of be a head coach in his league. I don't know if it's gonna happen here in Washington, because I'm assuming. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's their thought process. Are they gonna hopefully they hire GM first?
Yeah, I mean, because we even talked about it last week, and I keep hearing more and more reports about it. Is Josh Harris really wants Bill Belichick? But
I hope not. And and I hope that does not happen. I know people saying that he might go to the Chargers, which I hope that does happen. If I have a Christmas wish, I want Bill Belichick at least far from us, because to me, in my personal opinion, you don't need a Bill Belichick here, where, especially when you're at a point, because essentially, and I guarantee, he has the 6 rings and all, but when the last time they won a championship, like 5 years ago, the game has passed him by. So, and especially with this team, do you want to, in a sense, start a rebuild with what? Because Bill Belichick probably about 73, 74. He's like he's in either early to mid 70s. So, and we have a 61-year-old quarterback in 61-year-old coach in Ron Rivera, who we think, in my personal opinion, the game has passed him up. And you go and then you're gonna hire somebody that's like 12, 13 years older than him.
Right.
It's kind of, I hope not. That's why, like, if he do, I don't know. He gonna make an enemy out of me for sure.
I wouldn't mind bringing in Bill Belichick as defensive coordinator, but again, that's probably beneath him, with EB as head coach, and then what's the kid from Detroit? Detroit's offensive coordinator.
Ben Johnson?
I think so.
Or I think his name's Ben Johnson. Yeah, because he's another young. But yeah, this is another one where, like you said, I hope Bieniemy is here, because he's gonna be another one. I swear to you, like, we're gonna sit here years from now and be like, we just sat around in here, had Cal Shanahan, what's
Matt LaFleur, Zach Taylor. Oh no, not Zach Taylor. Mike McDaniel.
McDaniel and McVay.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. I mean, you just look at yourself, and you're gonna have another offensive mind out the door.
In a season where we went 3-13.
Yeah. Oh, and Kevin O'Connell. That's another one.
Was he on the staff at that time?
Kevin, yeah. Well, no, he wasn't on that staff then. He was on part of that 3-13 team, which I know this is 4 years ago, but I wanted him to be the head coach instead of Bill Callahan.
So did I.
And that's where we might talk about this at the end, because this may happen. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's bound to potentially happen. So, So I guess before we kind of tease that and all that, because we do have a game on Sunday. We return back to FedEx and we play the New York Football Giants. So Rob, how about like some storylines to watch in this game, and what's your thoughts on initial thoughts on this on our matchup against the Giants?
The biggest storyline for me is, can we beat a team that we're supposed to beat? That's all I want at this point in my life. That's what I want for Christmas, because there's I've never seen a team in my almost 30 years of watching football. I've never seen a team who plays so up to and down to the competition all at the same time. We go into Philly, force overtime. We look like a competent team. And then 2 weeks later, go into MetLife and lay a complete egg. Not a little egg. We score 7 points, but laying egg in the sense that we should have beaten. We are a much better team, no matter who their quarterback is. Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, Tony Fettuccine. Like, it doesn't matter who their quarterback is. We are a better team. How this offense was only able to score 7 points, and a lot of it had to do with the offensive line, because the Giants do have a good defensive line. Oh, at the time they did, because they had Leonard Williams. He's since been traded, who we just saw last week in Seattle, who got a sack. But just can this team just please beat a team that they're supposed to? Please, as coach, you say it all the time, can we put three facets of the game together and play good on offense, defense, and special teams? That's all I want.
Yeah, Clarissa Thompson be like Ron Rivera said, hey, let me chill out with that. All right, Nick. But yeah, I agree with you, Rod. Where you essentially you try to avoid the sweep. Obviously, the week 7 we laid the egg against the team. We're back at home. Like I titled the podcast, this episode must win. You cannot go 0-4 in this division at this point and even think you have any chance of playoff aspirations and staring down a 4-7 record going into Dallas next Thursday. This is it. And I'm a hyperbole kind of guy, but I'm dead serious. You gotta win this football game. I mean, it's to a point where, like you said, this is a game that you have to win. Everything that could have gone wrong with the New York Giants has gone wrong. You got to beat this football team, like you said. I mean, like we playing the kid Tommy DeVito with a TD chain, and like you said, we're gonna give him you gave him a little bulletin board material calling fettuccine, but hey, it's all good. So what? Yeah, I think that, and then yeah, this is a must win if this team wants to have somewhat of a semblance to be in the playoffs. Yeah. If they want to make a playoff run, it has to start this week. This is one where these opportunities are slipping week in and week out. We talked about last week Seattle. That was a situation. Then you think, we're not talking about the New England one, but the Philly loss. That's the game that we should have won. The Giants is another one where even though we lost 14-7, but there was points in that game where if we would have converted on certain things, the game would have been in a different turn, because we only lost 14-7, but still, it's still a bad loss considering the fact at that time Tyrod was a starter and their offensive line was essentially practice guys, practice squad guys. So that's another one, like we said. Like we talked about, how we teased it in the beginning, where that's how we was feeling going into week 7. Like, okay, we should win this football game. You thinking of, at that time, you gotta win this football game. So that's yeah. I mean, because obviously, after that we was coming off the win against Atlanta. So, and at that time, they were a team that was, I think, right at 500 at the time. They were in the playoff mix at that time, and they still in it. Despite it all, everything. But it would have been a good confidence boost, and we thought that was going to be a game that was going to spring forward other stuff. But it
Yeah.
obviously didn't come to fruition. But now we're stuck with that. So
Yeah, because being 5-6 with 7 to go, 6 to go is a lot different than being 4-7 with 6 to go. I mean, if you think this team can make the playoffs, cool. Do I? No. But I mean, I guess at this point, your goal should still be playoff football.
yeah, I mean that's where it's like I think there still should be, because there still should be some type of professional pride in the sense where, hey, let's just go out here and at least get there. Because you like to say, the thing about it, because you still want to play to it, because because you never know what can happen. Because we thought Minnesota was done. Now they've kind of reeled off some wins and put themselves pretty much in the playoff picture at the 7th seed. So yeah, there's always ways to pick things up, and even you look at like a team like the Denver Broncos, where they've kind of picked up some wins as of late and kind of got their season back together, and that's where you look at those type of stories, you're like, well, why this couldn't happen with Washington? Because I think, and and you think to yourself, I think, in my personal opinion, we have a better roster than both of those football teams.
Absolutely.
So that's where the issue, I think, it's to me, it's not delusion. I think people may that outside looking in they think like that's delusional to think that way, but this is a good football team. It's just not coming through on the field, but yeah. So in this matchup, who is in your opinion going to be the X factor in this matchup? What you got, Rob?
As somebody who's not even going to step foot on the field, Ron Rivera. He has been our kryptonite in big situations. It's just going to come down to coaching again, I feel like, because for whatever reason, this team has our number. Um, you play down to the competition again, which I think we're going to once again. And I think it's going to come down to something along the lines of needing a timeout, not having it, possibly taking a timeout when we shouldn't. Like his time management is atrocious. I can't think off the top of my head a worse time manager in the game of football at any level. I mean, I've seen 12-year-old kids on Twitch playing Madden who have better clock management than he does, and he's getting paid millions of dollars to do this. Ron Rivera is our X factor. If he can make good decisions, challenge the right calls that need to be challenged, call timeouts on the right spots, just let Eric Bieniemy call the offense. Let JDR pretend to be a defensive coordinator for the rest of his time in DC. Just manage the rest, manage all the rest, manage the clock, manage the situation. Ron Rivera, I think he's going to be clutch. Or he's going to be crucial. I'm not going to say he's going to be clutch. He will be crucial.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. I think my biggest X factor is probably going to be Sam Howell. I think, and this is where I look at it from the standpoint of how bad this pass defense for the Giants was last week. I mean, you like Dak Prescott, I think he had 404 yards and 4 touchdowns, and the Cowboys win last week. So like, can Sam Howell kind of have somewhat of a Dak Prescott type of game in the sense where, not saying 400, but could he have a situation where he could, like almost like that Seattle where he had 312 yards. So can he have that type of game like he did against Seattle? You just look at it from that standpoint. Is it, I think he has that potential in this matchup. But what happened, like you said, and a lot has changed, especially change on the offensive line since our matchup in week 7. So you're hoping that that in this matchup, that like you said, it'll be different. So hopefully, like you said, it will. Do we need to play to our competition? Like, don't play down to them. Play,
We need to play how this team is capable of playing.
Correct.
The same team that went into Lincoln Financial Field had a game-time drive at the end of the game to force overtime. That's the team that needs to show up on Sunday at FedEx Field. That's the team that needs to be out there. If that team lost every single week, I'd be okay with it. If that team that went into the Link, or even the team that went into Lumen Field last Sunday, if that team goes 0-17, I can live with that. It would suck, but I can live with that. You're fighting every game. This team that goes into the Link and forces overtime and then can only put up 7 points against the Giants team that's completely depleted, like that is what I cannot live with.
Right. Especially when you're better than them. Honestly. And that, no humbleness. This team is better than them. And and they don't show it. So I hate that we do this every week. They really ignore us. I swear to you, they ignore us. But we're gonna do this every week, though. So we gotta talk about the keys to a Washington Commanders victory, even though this is probably the most ignored segment by the Commanders coaching staff. But it's a great exercise because it's almost like we have egg in our, we tell them, hey, like we talked about Geno Smith, how don't get him comfortable in the pocket. That man threw almost 370 yards last week. Yep. I told y'all, don't get that man comfortable. You ignored me. But who'll say I'm just a couch coach? So what you count, Rob? What's your keys to a Commanders victory?
So as weird as it sounds, and I don't know if this is going to happen, run the damn ball. You have one of the better running backs in the league, I would say. You have a great duo. You probably can argue you have probably one of the only like real trios, but you have probably one of the best trios of running backs in the backfield in the NFL. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, who also is a pass catcher, can play a receiver, and Rodriguez or Gonzalez. Can't remember the other. Rodriguez, Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
You have that three-headed monster in the backfield against a team that is 28th in defensive rushing yards per game. I'm sorry, 21st in defensive rush yards, gives up 116, 29th in passing yards, 264. Now, the reason I say run the ball is because what is the one of the oldest rules in the book ever since play started getting creative? What does a good run game do? Opens up the passing game for that play action. You run against a team that is 21st in the league. You are able to take shots against the 29th ranked pass defense in the league. Balance, just like balance was last week, was my one of my keys, was my key to win. Wasn't much balance. I don't know the numbers that Sam threw last week, but I know it was definitely it wasn't a it was a lot last week.
Yeah, 312. Yeah, 312 and 3 TDs. Yep.
How many times did he pass?
Oh man, I don't even know how many times he passed. He probably passed about 40 sometimes, probably.
44.
44, yeah.
Threw the ball 44 times. As a team, we had, let's see, 12 rush attempts. 14 if you count the 2 runs by Sam Howell.
Yeah.
So you got to have a little bit more balance than that against a team that gives up so many yards on the ground. It opens up everything else. Like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're gonna constantly ignore us. So, but it's all good. So it's prediction time.
Are you muted?
What you huh? What happened?
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Are you good
No.
now? Are you serious? All right. You hear me now? Whoa, are you serious? Let me see if my mic and everything working. I think my mic, yeah, my mic is on. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they predict. Okay. Wow. Oh, wow. You can't hear me. You still can't hear me, wrong?
Can't hear you at all.
But I can hear you though. That's strange. Because I can hear you. All right, let's see what's. All right. Because I can hear you, but you can't hear me.
That might be me.
Okay. Because okay. Because I heard the
Okay, let me try one thing.
Okay. But yeah, while we get that adjusted, yeah, it's just one of those where the keys is often ignored. Can you hear me now? All right, I'm gonna say.
All right, we're just gonna do it like this.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my headphones.
I don't. I'm telling you, man, our technologies has been acting very problematic. Our devices have it's like the Commanders defense. It's just
Not there when we need it to be.
Right, because my webcam was acting really crazy before we got here. So, prediction time. Are you gonna do the reverse psychology or what? Now, really, that's a. I wonder what's your prediction for this matchup?
Man, I don't know what I want to do here. I'm not. I'm not going to, because the way that Eric Bieniemy has been calling this offense makes me feel a lot better going into this game. Offensive line has been patched up. I was gonna say fixed, but I don't want to say fixed. It has been patched up. I think they figure it out. I think Sam Howell throws for another 3 scores. Joey Slye comes in, tacks on a couple extra field goals just for good measure. So I'm gonna say 27-10 Commander. No. You know what? No. I'll go 31-10 Commanders.
Oh.
I think this offense is clicking at the right time. I think this team is going to feel some type of way about this last game. Not only the one against Seattle, but the one against New York last time. And they got something to prove, especially with Chase and Montez gone. I think the guy stepping in, they're trying to prove that they belong in this league. And then the line as a whole with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne are trying to prove hey, those weren't the only 2 guys on this line. We're paid for a reason.
Thanks. I'm almost to you when it comes to that, because I think the offense is gonna shine in this game. Because to me, yeah, and I got the Commanders winning 27-3. I think it's gonna get that way, and this is where it's gonna be a telling stat. Like you said, now his offensive line has improved. You're gonna see Sam Howell do his thing, and I think he'll have a great game in this matchup against the Giants, and this will be probably maybe our biggest win of the year. I mean, as far as from a margin of victory standpoint, it better be.
Yeah.
If not, yeah. So let's be devil's advocate. Let's be, let's be so. We kind of teased a little bit earlier, as far as kind of like lead into this. So we gotta talk about in the event if this goes wrong and Ron Rivera actually loses football game. To now they'll be 4-7 in their record, and then 0-4 in the division. Will Ron Rivera take that trip to Dallas next week if we lose to the Giants? What's your thoughts on that?
I think he will be. I think he will. I think after when you lose the way you did on Thursday Night Football to a team like the Bears, and then follow it up not too long after that with the loss against the Giants. I think it was in that order. I might be getting them mixed up, but
Oh, I think we went to Atlanta. Did we go to Atlanta? Yeah, we went to Atlanta
Atlanta
after
first, and then New
first,
York.
and then
Yeah,
Giants.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it was you have two bad losses like that in 3 weeks. I think that would have been a time to fire him, especially after the Bears game, giving Eric Bieniemy essentially 10 days, 9 days to get a game plan together and kind of put something together. I think if he does get fired, anything before January 8th, it will be heading into the bye week. So December 4th, I think, because if we lose to the Giants, I think we're losing to Dallas on Thanksgiving. Um, and I think we will be lucky if on December 3rd, after December 3rd, that the Denver Broncos are still the team that gave up the highest points this season to the Dolphins. We will be lucky if that's the case. I don't think this team will, but this defense is atrocious, and so I could see it happening. I think at that point, losing those 3 straight games heading into the bye week, the season's officially done at that point because you'll be sitting at 7, 8, 9, 4-9. Essentially you're out of a playoff spot. I don't think 8 and 9 this year will be good enough for a 7 seed. So that's why I think Josh Harris will pull the plug, give the keys to EB. EB will they'll announce somebody as defensive coordinator. If we're giving recommendations, Ryan Kerrigan, let's just see what he can do.
yeah,
I mean, at this point, you kind of know if that happens, you're about to clean house.
yeah.
Everybody's on, fire sale. Everything must go 50% off. So just see what Ryan Kerrigan can do as a defensive coordinator and go from there. Finish out the season, try to finish out with those last 4 wins, and head into the off season and with a plan on how to address this head coaching situation. But if we lose this weekend, I don't think he's going anywhere. Again, December 4th, I think, is the day that he'll be fired.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's just one of those. I think it's one where I think, in my personal opinion, Ron Vera will be safe. But if we do lose to the Giants, I think Jack Del Rio's fired for sure. I mean, you look at you think about it, this Giants offense is atrocious. Like 2 out of their last 3 games, they haven't even had a net 100 passing yards. If he gives up 100 yards passing in this game, and they lose a football game, he's out, dude. Tommy DeVito had 86 yards last week against Dallas, passing yards, not just passing yards, 86. If he can't, if Tommy DeVito comes into FedEx and beats us and have a career game, Jack Del Rio's out. He'd be the only one. I think he'd be the one that's gonna get the axe, in my personal opinion. Because if at this point, if you allow this, what else can you allow?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the only coaching casualty probably this week if it was to happen. But yeah, because if this happened,
I don't think you can let Jack Del Rio go without getting rid of Ron Rivera, though. Like they're a tandem when it comes to
that's true.
defense. I think you don't, and it's a lot like, and I hate the once again another comparison,
Yeah.
but it's basically we're the Sunday professional version of USC. Like
Mhm.
everybody always said, "Oh, it was Alex Grinch's fault that USC's defense was so bad," which it
Yeah.
was. But Lincoln Riley was the guy that kept him around.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley got smart a lot quicker than Ron Rivera did, and saying
Yeah.
whether Lincoln Riley got smart about it or the AD just forced him, said, "Hey, you need to get rid of this
Yeah.
guy. This guy's the problem." And Lincoln Riley was like, "Okay, fine, we'll
Yeah.
fire him." But I don't. Ron Rivera, we've talked about it before. He's loyal to
Yeah.
a fault, and
Yep.
so I don't think you let one go without the other. I
Mm.
think if JDR gets fired this weekend, I think Ron will be right there with him. Um, if not, I do think again December 4th, both will be gone.
Yeah. But yeah, if this performance, I'm like, to me, if you have a performance like if Tommy DeVito comes in here and win the football game and he's got a 200, 300-yard game, somebody got to go.
Yeah. Somebody
Because,
does need to be held accountable for that.
yeah, if you got a team, a guy, like I said, he had 86 yards last week. And now, mind you, they were trailing throughout this whole game. So they had to have been like, you think yourself, got to pass the football. And he was going and taking some shots, but he kept on getting intercepted because I forgot how many interceptions he had in this game. But if Tommy DeVito out here looking like Phil Simms, somebody got to go. It may maybe even be me. Fire me. I want to be like Mike Gundy. I'm a man. Like, yeah, it's gonna be wild, but we shall see. It's gonna definitely be an interesting game. Hopefully, hopefully this hypothetical exercise was it's going to be a failure because we're going to win that football game and then head to Dallas and get ourselves together. So put a bow on episode 72. Rob, tell me where they can find you on social media and any upcoming projects and what you got going on.
You already know where you can find me, FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Show Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Just the normal see you Sunday on Saturday, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. Overaction Monday on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Kind of going to be taking a break a little bit for the holidays coming up. I hope you all do the same and get plenty of rest and have a great holiday season. Coming back into 2024 strong, hot and heavy, ready to get the ball rolling.
Yes, indeed. So pretty much catch me on my other podcast, Couch Coach Live, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, website couchcoachlive.com. Yeah, and then also here Commanders in the chat, Commanders ITC. Yeah, man, it's the holidays. Yeah, it's gonna kind of be a little bit of a bad week, especially next week. So it'd be good to kind of just chill. And I think a lot of stuff after Saturday, I think I don't cover another basketball game until December, the first weekend of December. So yeah, I'm gonna take a bye week. That something. Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, this is the time to kind of unwind, be with your family, and kind of reflect on the year. As the year is damn near over, which is crazy. The time has flown by, but
really
yeah, man. So this wraps up episode 72. So we won't be here obviously next Thursday because this is gonna be a holiday. So we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. So with this being said, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully we'll have a win on our plate next Thursday as we beat the Cowboys, hopefully. But we shall see. Hopefully that's the case. But we're here. But once again, we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. This has been episode 72. Catch you guys in a couple weeks for episode 73. And we out.